They said the war had been over for 5 years, but he knew better. Blood didn't dry that quickly. Not on this planet. Not in his mind. The stars may have looked peaceful, cold diamonds scattered across a black canvas. But they lied. Every light up there was a system burned, a world taken, a grave dug. Commander Isaac Vance stepped through the broken hull of the downed alien transport, boots crunching over twisted alloy and scorched plating. The smell of ionized air, sweat, and charred blood clung to everything. He moved like a ghost, silent and methodical, rifle drawn low. There were still survivors inside. He'd heard them begging over comms, pleading in broken standard, voices cracked with fear. They thought surrender meant mercy. They didn't know humans. One by one, he checked the bodies. The Elari had been a proud warrior race once. 7 feet of muscle, scales like armor plates, reflexes sharper than any terrestrial predator. Now they lay broken, their war paint smeared in blood, weapons discarded. Their pride died long before they did. Vance didn't hate them. Hate was for people with something left to lose. He had orders, instincts, and memory. That was enough. Near the rear of the ship, a noise, not the rattling of damaged vents or failing systems, but a breath, a sharp intake, soft, panicked. He turned, raised a rifle, and saw her. She knelt in the shadows, arms raised, palms open. Her armor was torn, one eye bruised and swollen shut. The other locked on his weapon. An Elari, but different. No sneer, no defiance, just desperation. "Don't kill me," she said, her voice thick with an accent but clear enough. "I'll warm your bed." The words landed like a hammer. Vance didn't flinch, didn't blink. He'd heard Elari curses, threats, and screams, but never that. Never an offer of submission so raw, so unfiltered. She said it like it was all she had left to trade. "Name," he said flatly. She hesitated. "Kelthera." "Rank." "Captain." "Elari Vanguard." He lowered the rifle, slightly, not out of mercy, just calculation. Captains had intel, codes, movement patterns. Prisoners with value lived longer. She saw that flicker in his eyes and latched onto it like a drowning soul finding a floating corpse. "I know locations," she said quickly. "Supply routes. Hidden vaults. I'll give you everything. Just don't kill me." He kept his voice like steel. "Why offer yourself like that?" She swallowed. "You took everything. Our leaders, our gods, our future. There's nothing left to fight for. All that's left is survival. I thought maybe if I made myself useful, you'd spare me." He studied her. She wasn't lying. Not fully. There was fear in her voice, yes, but something else too. Shame. Elari didn't kneel, not even in death. But here she was, on her knees before a human, trembling. He gestured with his rifle. "Up, move." She obeyed, limping forward, hands still raised. He cuffed her, tagged her comm collar, and activated the tracker. She didn't resist. Just glanced once over her shoulder and whispered, "Thank you." The walk back to base was silent. No words, no questions, just the crunch of boots over ash and bone. The facility was buried under 60 feet of reinforced alloy and dirt, designed to house prisoners too valuable to kill, but too dangerous to release. She didn't look around as the doors hissed open. She'd accepted her cage before she saw it. The guards stared when they saw her, not because she was Elari, but because she wasn't fighting. She followed Vance like a shadow, silent and obedient. In the cell, she sat cross-legged on the floor, eyes shut. No protests, no threats, just waiting. Hours passed, then days. Interrogators came. She gave them what they wanted: coordinates, names, passwords. Vance watched through the glass. She answered everything, voice calm, steady. Never once did she mention her offer again, not until he entered her cell days later, and found her standing, staring at the wall. "You used to be proud," he said. She turned slowly. "We were proud, before we met you." His expression didn't change. "You mean humans?" She nodded. "You shouldn't have been this strong. Your kind evolved on a garden world. You had oceans, forests, soft gravity. We were forged in fire, born into storms. But you broke us. He said nothing. She stepped closer, slowly. You broke me. You offered yourself. I did. I still do. But not because I'm afraid. He narrowed his eyes. I want to understand, she said. What makes you so relentless? You kill without hesitation. You save no one. You don't hesitate. You don't forgive. We fought monsters, machines, gods. But you scare us. I scare you. All of you. The entire galactic coalition. We watched your worlds burn, and you just kept coming. No plea for peace. No negotiation. Just silence and death. He stepped forward until their faces were inches apart. You declared the war. She didn't flinch. Yes, and we lost at the moment you answered. Something shifted between them. Not trust, never that, but awareness. She wasn't just a captive. She was a mirror, showing him what war had made of his species. She reached up, slowly, and touched the collar around her neck. You could do anything to me, and no one would stop you. He didn't move. But you haven't. I'm not here for comfort, he said coldly. I didn't expect comfort. I expected punishment. He turned away. She called out softly, Then why do you visit every day? He stopped, hands clenched. You're not just following orders, she said. You're looking for something. Maybe not forgiveness, but understanding. He hated how she saw through the armor. The silence he wore like a shield. She was supposed to be broken. But every day, she sat straighter, spoke clearer. Every truth she gave them stripped something from her people, but gave her something back. The next week, she saved 3 human lives. A data breach, a planted virus in the command systems. She warned them, gave details. Saved the base. They called her traitor. Her own kind, over hijacked broadcasts. She listened without blinking. You betrayed them, Vance said. They betrayed me first, she replied. Why help us? I told you, I want to survive. And maybe I want to be near the fire. He didn't understand. She stepped closer. You burn, Vance. All of you, like stars. It's terrifying, beautiful, and I'm tired of hiding in the dark. He saw the tremor in her fingers, the exhaustion behind her eyes, the pride that refused to die. One night, a riot broke out in the lower cells. Elari prisoners, dozens of them, her former squad mates. They demanded her release, called her false. She stood at the gate, silent, as they screamed her name in fury. She turned to Vance. Give me a weapon. You're not human. No, she said, but I'm not them anymore either. He gave her a stun baton, watched her walk into the cell block and silence the rebellion, not with force, but with words. Truth. Cold, brutal truth. We lost, and they gave us a choice. Obey or die. I chose to obey, and I've lived. They tried to strike her. She dropped 2 without hesitation. The rest backed away. She returned the baton. You can trust me now. I still don't. I don't expect you to, but I've earned a place here. He stared at her for a long time. You're still in a cage. She looked past him, toward the flickering lights of the hallway. A cage is just a shape. Sometimes the only way out is through someone else's mercy. He didn't offer it, but he didn't stop her when she followed him. Vance didn't speak when he saw her waiting. He just looked down at her, silent, unreadable. She didn't lower her eyes, didn't flinch. She wasn't begging. Not this time. Her voice was steady when she finally said, I want to learn how to be like you. He stepped past her, keyed open the door, and walked inside. She followed without being told. No chains, no threat, just a shared understanding. The air was colder inside his quarters in the hall. Bare walls, functional furniture. No softness, no clutter. A soldier's cage. She stood in the center, hands still clasped behind her back. He poured water into a tin and handed it to her. She drank it slowly, without speaking, then placed it back on the table. Her posture never broke. No hesitation. No fear. You're not like the others, he said finally. I'm not Elari anymore, she replied. He looked at her hard. You are. She shook her head. Not where it matters. They still believe we can win, that there's a way to strike back. But I've seen your war machines. I've heard your commander speak. You don't fight to win. You fight until there's nothing left to resist. That's not war. That's inevitability. He folded his arms. We warned you. You didn't need to. The galaxy just didn't listen. He leaned against the wall, watching her. So why adapt? Why stay alive? I told you. I want to learn, not just to survive, to understand. Understand what? What kind of creature doesn't break after all the bloodshed? He said nothing. Your species burns everything it touches, she whispered, and still looks to the stars like it deserves more. He didn't argue. He couldn't. She was right. Humanity had reached for the stars not as explorers, but as survivors, scarred, relentless, impossible to break. And when they were challenged, they answered with fire. You want training? He said finally. Yes. You want to be like us? No, she said softly. I want to know why I can't stop needing to. He stood, crossed the room, and placed a dull-bladed training knife in her hand. Then start with this. She trained every day. No rest, no complaint. She sparred with human soldiers 3 times her size, took hits that cracked bone, but she never stayed down. Vance watched, evaluated, never praised. She didn't expect praise, only permission to keep going. Her body changed. Scars thickened, muscles hardened. She moved like a predator now, not a soldier. Her people would have called her a traitor, but the humans began to nod at her in the halls. Small things, a glance, a grunt, silent acknowledgments of someone who'd earned their place in the dirt beside them. She lived in the barracks now, not the cell, ate with them, drilled with them, but she never removed the collar, never once asked for it to be taken off. It wasn't shame. It was memory. Her reminder of the day she stopped being a Elari and started surviving like a human. One night, after a brutal endurance course, she collapsed outside the base. Vance found her lying in the frost, breath ragged. He knelt beside her. She didn't open her eyes. Why push so hard? He asked. Because I know I'm still weak. You're not. I am. I still dream of surrender, of giving in, of just being soft again. He didn't speak. She looked up at him, eyes gleaming. But every time I do, I remember your face. The first day I offered myself, and you said nothing. That wasn't strength, he said. That was emptiness. No, she whispered. It was restraint, power without cruelty. That's what frightens us. He stood, offered a hand. She took it. Her grip was steady. In the following months, missions started to include her. Low risk at first, then tactical, then field work. Her instinct saved 3 human lives during an ambush on a reclaimed outpost. No hesitation, no second guessing. She moved like them now, bled with them, killed for them. She never once asked for status, never demanded recognition. But the brass noticed. Vance was summoned. She's dangerous, the general said. A symbol. She's effective, Vance replied. Her people see her as a traitor. They're not wrong. Are you saying she's loyal? I'm saying she doesn't care about loyalty anymore. Only purpose. The general leaned back, then give her a final test. Vance didn't ask what. The mission came a week later. Deep insertion. A rogue Elari warlord. Survivors from the last purge. Planning to reignite the war. Kale Thera went in first. Vance followed 3 hours behind. He tracked her signal to the outer ring of a jungle moon. Found 3 bodies. Elari, executed with precision. One was still breathing. She cut his throat shallow, left him to bleed slowly. Vance crouched. Why? She stood behind him, eyes cold. He used to command my squad. He slaughtered a surrendering village. You did too. I did worse. He stood. Then why show mercy now? I didn't. She walked past him, into the compound. Silent, efficient, like she'd always belonged. The warlord was waiting inside. old, scarred Armdefangs. He laughed when he saw her. You kneel to apes now? She didn't answer, just raised her weapon. He sneered. They'll never see you as one of them. You're a pet, a trophy. Vance stepped into view. Then why are you afraid? The warlord didn't hesitate. Fired. Kael'thera moved faster. The fight was brutal. Close. Savage. She didn't hold back. Neither did the warlord. But she had changed. She fought like a human now. Dirty, relentless, tactical. When it was over, she stood bloodied, breathing hard, blade dripping. The warlord lay still. She didn't look at him. I didn't do it for you, she said. I know. They extracted. No celebration. No cheers. Just the silence. The base logged the mission as a success. The brass signed off on her permanent assignment. No more collar. She left it on. That night, she returned to Vance's quarters. Not on her knees this time. Just standing. Waiting. I stay alive, she said. Now I want to know what that means. He looked at her, for the first time, not as an enemy or tool, but as a soldier. You've already chosen. No, she said. I just stopped running. He stepped aside. She entered. She didn't ask what came next. Neither did he. They sat, silent, staring at the wall. Two predators carved from war, bound not by victory or peace, but the mutual understanding of what survival costs. The galaxy hadn't seen the worst of humanity. But now, the debriefing was short. The brass wanted results, and she had given them exactly that. Her file, once labeled hostile alien combatant, now bore a new tag, integrated asset. No ceremony, no applause, just another name added to the machine. She didn't care. What mattered now was the mission they handed her next. The Darnex cluster, an Elari stronghold that had stayed quiet throughout the war. Too quiet. Intelligence suggested a final fallback effort. Not an offensive, not a rebellion. Something else. Movement. Migration. Hidden tech being moved off-world. Quiet war drums. They needed someone who could walk through the smoke without triggering alarms. She volunteered. Vance objected. She's too exposed. If they catch her... She volunteered, said the general. That makes her useful. Disposable, even. Vance's jaw tightened. He didn't argue further. Before departure, she entered Vance's quarters again. Not to speak, not to ask, just to see him. To look once more at the man who hadn't killed her when he should have. The man who turned a weapon into something worse. Into a survivor. He finally broke the silence. You don't owe them anything. She looked down at her hands. I'm not doing it for them. Then who? She met his eyes. For the version of me you didn't kill. She left at dawn. The Elari didn't recognize her anymore. She walked through checkpoints, flashing modified credentials and forged subdermal tags. Her posture mimicked subservience, but her eyes never lowered. They noticed. No one questioned her. The compound was buried under a mountain crust, shielded by automated cannons and biolock gates. The perfect hideout for traitors and fanatics. The last embers of a dead empire. Inside, the atmosphere is tense. Half-trained soldiers. Engineers working overtime. Children being moved in hush. No records, no tags. A species preparing not to fight, but to vanish. She moved through them like smoke. The War Council hadn't changed. Ancient faces from old wars. Elari who had survived extinction by hiding behind the myth of coming vengeance. Now they just looked tired. The lead strategist, Lord Vecker, once commanded the orbital assaults on Earth's Mars colonies. He had personally signed the extermination orders for the Titan prison camps. And yet, he was smiling at her now. You returned. She gave a subtle nod. You've seen what they are. The humans. You know the truth. I do, she said. They can't be beaten. No. They will burn this galaxy until nothing but ash remains. Yes. So join us. Help us vanish. The war is lost, but the Elari will endure. Quietly. Forever. She paused. Long enough. Then nodded. She stayed embedded for 2 weeks. She didn't just observe. She helped. She carried children. She mapped escape corridors. She sat at war councils and pretended to care about strategy that wouldn't matter in a century, all while feeding Vance the intel he needed. Every transmission was encrypted and buried in noise, but she knew it was working, because on the 14th day, Vecker summoned her privately. "We found your signal." She didn't lie. He didn't flinch. "You had a choice. You chose them. I chose not to die a lie. They'll discard you," he said, "the moment you're no longer useful." She met his gaze. "So will you." He didn't answer. He reached for a blade. She moved faster. The guards didn't stand a chance. She left no survivors in the command wing. Her escape route was compromised immediately. They sealed the mountain, activated failsafes, triggered a countdown. She ran, but not to escape. She ran to reach the comms relay buried under sublevel 6. The humans didn't need her alive. They just needed the data. She uploaded it all. Final layouts, personnel tags, evacuation schedules, hidden fleet locations, coordinates for off-world hatcheries. She gave the humans everything. The blast doors blew inward. They didn't ask her to surrender. They already knew she wouldn't. She fought until her limbs cracked, until her vision blurred, until they buried her in sheer numbers and dragged her to the central court. Bleeding, bound. She stood again. The elders stared. She didn't wait to be addressed. "I am Elari," she said. They said nothing. "I betrayed you because you betrayed us first. You sold survival as tradition. You sold silence as strength. But the humans, at least they never lied about what they were." "You're not one of them," hissed an elder. "No," she said softly, "but I belong to them now." The court's floor shook. Explosions. Subtle, focused, tactical strikes. The kind of precision only human operatives could pull off after weeks of surgical intel. They had come. Vance led the breach team. When he reached her, she was kneeling again, this time not in submission, but from exhaustion. He pulled at her feet without a word. She didn't let go of his hand. Extraction was brutal. The compound burned behind them. Human ships lit up the mountain sky. What remained of the Elari resistance scattered like embers in the wind. No formal report was needed. No one asked what she'd done. She was reassigned. Her record sealed. She vanished from the official rosters. Unofficially, she remained attached to Vance's unit. They didn't speak much. Didn't have to. One night, during a storm, she sat beside him outside the barracks. Cold rain, thunder cracking over iron. "Do you still see me as alien?" she asked. "No." "Then what?" He thought for a long time. "A mirror." She leaned her head back, let the rain run down her face. "I used to think needing someone made me weak." "It doesn't," he said. "Needing nothing does." "Then I guess I've earned the right to be human." He didn't correct her. She followed him to 17 more operations. Ghost missions. No medals. No stories. But every time they walked into hell, she was the first through the breach. The soldiers stopped calling her the Elari. They called her Grim. Vance never used her name again. Not because he didn't remember, but because in war, names were for tombstones. She stayed until the last campaign. The one they said would break the remnants of Elari space once and for all. A final blitz. Total and absolute. She volunteered again. Vance tried to stop her. "You've done enough." "It's never enough," she said. He grabbed her arm. "You think being like us makes you free?" She stepped closer. "No, it makes me dangerous." She didn't come back from that mission. No body was recovered. No signal. Just her final report, sent 3 hours before impact, log with one line. "If I don't make it back, tell him I was never kneeling. I was rising." The war ended 6 weeks later. Humanity didn't celebrate. There was no parade. Just silence. Vance found her collar in his footlocker. No note, no explanation. Only a memory of a soldier who had once said, "Don't kill me, human. I'll warm your bed." And then prove she was fire itself. The galaxy would remember humanity as monsters. But somewhere in the void, there would be a whisper. that the worst mistake the Elari ever made wasn't starting the war. It was letting one of their own become one of us.